Hi, Mary Dacey. I did not get a lot done today. This was one of those days when everything kind of catches up with you. Most days, if I get up, if I keep moving, I keep going. And then once I sit down, that's the end. I crash. I can't function. So that was something that happened today, which is very, very, very typical. We've been kind of jumping around on different subjects, and I want to get back to the chronological part of the story of my life dealing with autoimmune issues. So the last time I was there, I had just been diagnosed with both Sjogren's and lupus. And I mentioned that a lot had gone on in the 5 years before that took place. So I just want to touch on some of it because, again, I can attribute every single autoimmune disorder I have been diagnosed with to stress in my life that was going on at the time. So I had been married a number of years, and I believe I mentioned that I lost my job when my husband and I got together because we both worked at the same company. So I went on to another job, and I was working with someone who was quite elderly, and he decided to close his office. He was no longer working after almost 10 years. And by then I was in my very late 50s, and with not only continuing autoimmune issues, but escalating issues. So my husband and I talked it over, and I could not see myself going to look for another position at that time in my life. But I needed to work, and so we decided, since I had always wanted to work in hospice since my father and brother had both died simultaneously years before, I knew I couldn't work in regular hospice, but I could work in dog hospice. So I started by adopting a dog and went to work volunteering for that dog rescue for about a year. And I would bring dogs home to foster, and we rapidly became what's known as foster failures. So we knew we needed to move. And I wanted to start my own rescue, and we found an old farm. It had started in 1860 and been added on to over the years. And I also knew by that time that I would need to live somewhere on one floor that would be handicapped accessible. And so we bought this farm, which had been vacant for 3 years with 10 acres. Originally, it had been for sale with 40 or 50 acres, I don't remember. But what I do remember is that when we looked at the farm, it had been in the same family for 50 years, and it was the son of the husband and wife who had originally bought it, who was probably close to my husband and my age, and his daughter, who was the listing agent as well as the family attorney. And I had told them that I wanted to start a dog rescue, and it seemed like an ideal setting to hold farm weddings in order to fund the shelter. And I asked if this was something that we would be allowed to do. And the response was, you can do anything you want. This is unincorporated, and anything we wanted to do was fine. So we purchased the farm and we began renovations, and it quickly turned into the money pit. I can't even begin to tell you all the issues that we encountered. But needless to say, we started in July. I had intended not to move in until all of the renovations were finished, because we had all these special needs dogs, and their welfare was my number one priority. So having them live in a house that had workers coming and going was not an option. But because of a multitude of issues and undisclosed problems, we wound up moving in a lot sooner than when we were able to get rid of people working. And when we did move in, it was the first week in November. It was November 8th. It was a Saturday. We had only one sink in the entire house. There weren't any counters. And in one day, between moving in that Saturday and the next day, Sunday, all of a sudden, we didn't have any water. And I'm going to leave it there right now and get back to you tomorrow, because, like I said, today is one of those days when I was too exhausted to basically function. And so I need to go to bed and hope to get up tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and I hope to talk to you again.